It's a room.
Here's the thing.
Our son was he entered our grandson into a bass tournament and he won.
Is that a movie camera?
Yeah.
We don't know why we weren't staying on this side of the road.
Air conditioned. No, it is air conditioned.
Yeah, it is air conditioned.
Oh, now no reason the flax is cheap. No, that's not. This is a fixer-upper. All right, this is our next American Extreme Makeover House project. And one of you today is going to be a lucky winner. Now, you were all issued a ticket at the start of the tour, so if you will pull that ticket out and I will pull the winning number. I don't see any tickets coming.
Our guide has them all.
Oh, good. Well, I've got the winning ticket then, so it'll be. All right. Well, welcome to Georgia's first brewery. How about introducing that in a different way? All right. Our major here, Horton, came with the original founding father, James Edward Oglethorpe, back here in 1736, actually, to land on St. Simon's, to found what is known in the history books is the British largest investment in a fort to defend against the Spanish in St. Augustine. Have any of you been to St. Augustine?
Yeah.
Some of you have. You've seen the fort, the Castillo San Marcos there, and you know that that's a very prominent fort because the Spanish were the first landing party into this area and into the United States. But militarily, they only advanced themselves to St. Augustine. They sent Jesuit priests into these different islands, one here on Jekyll, and one to St. Simon's and other islands to Christianize the Indians and develop those relationships in a non-military way. Well, part of that problem was the Indians hadn't encountered the European cold. And if you know the history books, the cold and the flu ransacked Indian populations everywhere, whether you were in South America or here. So Indians started dying. Well, that didn't sit too well with the God that they were teaching, so they, in the mid-1500s, began to kill the priests, burn the missions, and run them out because whatever it was they bringing, they didn't want it and didn't understand it. So the Spanish kind of withdrew to St. Augustine and sat there until the British arrived in 1733 and 1736. Well, in 1738, Commander Horton, I call him Commander because that's the respect I give him, he received title from the king, transferred through the authorities for Jekyll Island is to be his property, even though the fort was on St. Simon's. Now you'll see later in our tour here in just a minute, by land we're 18 miles around by causeway, but by water we're only about a mile. At that time it could even been less, 3/4 of a mile between the islands, so it wasn't too short. So he really didn't do anything here at the fort, here on Jekyll, until after a famous battle which you'll hear on St. Simon's in 1742, and shortly thereafter Horton felt comfortable coming over here and building his house. And here's the deal about the beer. Oglethorpe did not allow alcohol at the fort, or lawyers. I think he was on to something. I don't know why they canceled that combination. So, you know about the preacher across the county line or the liquor store across the county line. Commander Horton had the privilege and the license to put together the beer. So the beer operation was what supported. He grew barley and hops here, which is very interesting. Not really recorded that that had been done here before, and supplied the fort with beer when the soldiers came over here. So all the rowdy activity was over here. Later on, he sold this property to the French family de Bouillon, and we'll talk about them more later on in our tour. But this is one of the most oldest buildings in Georgia. Now, it has been preserved, as you can see, but as we rode by, I wanted to talk about why you see these particular items is not in a concrete or stone. This is called tabby. And when the British arrived here in the islands, one of the things that they found the staple of the Indians was eating oysters off the half shell, probably not fried, maybe steamed, but it was the main staple, and there were these piles of oyster shells everywhere. And the chemist with Oglethorpe knew that if they burned these shells, it gave off a residue of lime, which mixed with the water made concrete or tabby. So this is the creation of southern concrete called tabby. Now today it's a stucco type of material or a cosmetic, but this is his closer authentic recreation, and that's what he built his original building out of, was out of tabby, and you'll see more of that as we go around today.
You can see it inside there.
Now on the other side, if you look across the road, we won't walk over there, you'll see a wall and a fence and a statuette there. As you remember, I told you the de Bionns, a French family, bought this island, and that's their family graveyard. They were the owners of the island until they sold it in the late 1800s to the millionaire's family. Isn't this a beautiful day? Oh, yeah. Gosh, I wish we could just kind of float around and not inside anything. Okay, any questions? We'll board back up and continue on our tour. Thank you.
The thickness of the walls, they're still standing.